Veteran sports reporter Jeremy Muck headlines Arkansas Democrat-Gazette's high school football coverage. Has been doing it for a few years now and is definitely one of the experts in probably the state's favorite overall sport. And he joins us right now here on Halftime. Jeremy, it's good to talk to you, man. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well, man. Hey, man, when I'm getting the word veteran in front of my name, I guess I've been doing this for a little bit, so don't age me too much here, Phil.
That's exactly right. I'm not the first to use the term veteran for you, am I?
No, I'm just giving you a bad time. That's all.
Okay, good. Well, you know, since I'm on, Jeremy and I started working together when I was at the Travs, and he was the beat reporter for the Democrat on Traveler Baseball.
So that wasn't that long ago. That's
right, and we're on two separate beats now, completely different beats, and our paths don't cross too often. So it's good to have him on here. So Jeremy was at North Little Rock High School football practice today. It's the first practice that the charging Wildcats are allowed to have. What does football practice look like in the age of COVID-19, Muck?
Social distancing. Social distancing. Do not go to the water fountain and get your own drink. You have to bring your own water bottle and mask. I mean, mask is a big thing. All the coaches wearing their masks and the players have their helmets on. I mean, it was definitely a surreal feeling, Phil. Like, this is the first time, you know, usually first day of practice in August or late July is always a fun day, but you go out there and go to a high school football practice in 2020 like this, you can definitely tell the landscape is a little different, but I am glad at least that the kids are able to get out there and at least get some type of gear on. I mean, it's been a crazy year for them.
Was there a focus on smaller groups practicing than usual? Because we know that one of the ways that the virus does get passed on is close contact with a number of people at the same time for more than 15 minutes. So I know that practices are supposed to look different too. Did that mean that there were smaller groups that were practicing together?
I think today, you know, with the AAA calendar being able to resume like it is, I mean, these first 2 days of practice right now are helmets only, and it's kind of normal. When you practice with helmets only, you're not allowed to tackle, bring a player down to the ground. So really, like what North Little Rock did today, they worked through offensive drills, defensive drills, and special teams. Like, you know, they would use the usual distancing on kickoff, and when you're doing 7-on-7 drills, obviously you're separating anyway. So, you know, in terms of plays and whatnot, I mean, they weren't together for very long, but, you know, this is really like the first day where kids could actually kind of be together a little bit. Now, when they weren't going through a drill, they would be asked, hey, please distance on the sidelines. Do not stand near each other. Keep it, 6 feet. I mean, that's easier said than done when you're telling a high school kid that. I mean, you know, you tell kids anything, you try to make sure they know the rules, but sometimes you have to remind them and whatnot. And that's been the case for the last few months, obviously, just when kids have been able to be back in person. And you have to remind them, hey, guys, we got to separate here. We got to separate. Put your mask on. You need to and all that. So definitely weird time, but I didn't know if Little Rock did a good job that day.
So we're less than a month before the start of the regular season here in Arkansas and a number of other states as well. What does the with this advisory group have to give a go-ahead on for high school football to actually happen? Because, I mean, I felt like what the governor said, what the SEC has tried to do with this schedule, what all these college leagues are showing is here's what's going to happen in the best scenario. This is the best case scenario we can put forward. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. They're going to have people sign off on starting the season. So what does this advisory group need to see in order for this season to begin when the AAA says it will?
The advisory group, which is made up of, you know, several coaches, athletic trainers, and medical professionals from around the state, I think what they're planning on talking about is how can you play sports safely? I mean, right now, the fall sports that are considered fall sports in Arkansas are football, volleyball. Those are like the two big ones right now as far as close contact sports. Golf, cross country, and tennis have received guidelines where they're able to go ahead and play as of right now. But the main thing for the advisory committee right now, Phil, is they're going to look at football and volleyball. Can you play it safely? And as far as like distancing on the games, like as far as sidelines and water, and you have to wear your mask when you're not playing, and also too attendance at games. That's a big thing too. I mean, obviously you look at the big high schools, especially over in the Fort Smith area. I mean, North Side, South Side, Alma, Greenwood. I mean, they get a lot of fans at their games, and I mean, you look at fans. I mean, who's going to be able to be led in the stadium? I can't see how high schools being able to let a full capacity crowd into the stadium. So I think that's going to be one thing they're going to look at as well. But ultimately, what's really going to matter here, Phil, is the AAA has to submit a plan to the Arkansas Department of Health as far as what their plan is, and the advisory committee is going to be a part of that discussion as well. So, not out of the woods yet. They do get the practice at the beginning today with helmets, but the season's scheduled to start August 27th. But we'll see what happens here in the next week or two, what the health department and the advisory committee will say.
Speaking to Jeremy Muck here on Halftime, Jeremy, I just want to present this scenario to you and just kind of get your thoughts or your opinion on this. So, let's say worst case scenario, let's say the SEC football season was to get postponed or even worse, canceled. And we'll just say for this one, gets postponed to the spring. Does that necessarily mean the same fate for Arkansas high school football in your mind? Because if the SEC gets postponed, I don't think in my mind that necessarily means the same fate for Arkansas high school football.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you that it wouldn't mean the same fate necessarily. I mean, if it meant the same fate, obviously in this past week, the SEC has decided to, they're going to try to go ahead and play a 10-game conference schedule, which is scheduled to start September 26th. Now, Arkansas high schools right now, they're still scheduled to start on time the week of August 27th and 28th. But, it remains to be seen. Everything, and this is a word that I've used so much over the last 4 or 5 months, and, I'm getting tired of using this word, but it's such a word, it's a word that has to be used. It's fluid. I mean, it's a fluid situation. This thing changes by the week. It changes by the day. It changes by the hour. I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm prepared for whatever announcement's made. I mean, we could have an announcement here in the next 2 hours. I'm not saying there will be, but you never know with this thing. I mean, right now, who knows what's going to happen? But, football right now, let's say hypothetically that if they wanted to move to the spring, I'm not so sure if that would work out logistically. But then you got to figure out your smaller schools run multiple sport athletes. That's going to, mess up, as far as spring sports, how you delay spring sports all the way into the summer when people are playing their vacations. I mean, and with the smaller schools having multiple sport athletes, have enough people to put on a football game if it's cold. And while, Arkansas winters lately haven't been nearly as cold, you still up in northern Arkansas, I mean, Harrison, imagine going up to Harrison, Arkansas for a playoff game in the middle of February where it's 17 degrees. I mean, that can happen. So there's a lot of things here where it's, will it be being moved to the springs? Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of decisions out to be made here.
Right now, I mean, you're talking about a fluid situation. You're 100% right because everything, it changes from day to day, hour to hour, maybe even minute by minute, just what we know about the virus and everything that's going on. Right now, though, August 3rd, where is your confidence level of a high school football season happening this fall or like you just mentioned with August 27th?
I would say right now, I'm going to go 40-60 again right now, just because I think you think about the safety issue. And I'm not even going to mention COVID at this moment. I mentioned the football safety issue. Today is the first day where football teams across the state can actually wear their helmets. They didn't have spring football at all. They didn't have 7-on-7. Most of these schools did not. They didn't go to team camps. So this week is the first time where a lot of these schools will be able to wear their helmets and wear their solar pads. And I think from a football point of view, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world to delay the season, just in terms of safety for football. But the virus is going to be the big thing, too. If the cases keep rising, then that's a whole other story right there. But right now, if I had to make a prediction, I think the season does get delayed. But we shall see. And if it doesn't get delayed, it's even more better for the kids to have a full season.
Muck, I wouldn't let you go without at least getting the opinion on your new NHL team that you're going to follow. Jeremy is maybe the biggest Seattle sports fan in all of Arkansas.
Ooh.
I'm talking all the teams.
Okay.
Kraken I think it's a pretty cool name. I know you're
Yeah.
a fan of the team no matter what, but what about the team name?
I like the name. I did not think they were going to go with the Kraken. I mean, that was a big name. That 2 years ago when they announced the team, Kraken has been one of those names that's been bandied about as their nickname. And I didn't think they were going to go through with it, but that's a franchise right now that has listened to the fans. They've listened to the fans from 2 years ago to now, and I think what really makes the logo work is the colors. I mean, the colors right now are really cool. You got that navy blue, light blue, you got some red in there. There's no other Seattle team at the moment, I believe, has the color red in there. So that's pretty cool. But ultimately, I'm interested to see who the players are going to be and who the next coach is going to be. I would imagine that they'll probably try to hire a coach by the end of the year, and it may not be Gerard Gallant from Vegas or Peter Laviolette. Those guys that bounced around a little bit. Maybe it's a sitting head coach right now. Who knows? I mean, Seattle does have some money here with Jerry Bruckenheimer, so we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Always good talking with you, Muck. It's been a while. Hope to do it again, hopefully when the season's going on.
Absolutely, Phil. You guys take it easy. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Jeremy
Appreciate
Muck from the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Yes, veteran reporter on the right side of 30. These things do go together, especially when you got a little age. All right, it's been a fun show today, and we'll wrap it up in just a moment with 3 up, 3 down. And also need to know whether or not Ty Richardson wore his tie too short. You could see shirt between the bottom of the tie and the belt buckle. Also, the right side of the tie was poking out from the knot. Just looked like someone who hadn't done that in over a year or so. But then again, you know what? I haven't worn a tie in like a year and a half.
I was going to say, when's the last time you wore a tie, Maddie?
Long time. I was going to say, though, that picture, though, he was already 3 White Claws deep, so that could explain the look.
Fair assumption.
It's not an excuse. 3 up, 3 down next.